There's a saying that if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And I think the biggest way people screw up their divorce is by not defining what they want, figuring out their vision for what they want their life to be like when the divorce is over. And they end up basically just fighting like a crazy pirate blindfolded, not even knowing where they're sticking their sword. And that just wastes time, money, and is likely to cause
There are so many forays, I call them forays, that you can go on in cases. You can go on this route, you can go on this route, this route. There are so many different paths that you can get led down. What you have to focus on is what Chris was saying, really, your vision. How do I get out of this? What is the light at the end of the tunnel? What is the best path that's going to take me there? Don't get lost on these various paths as you're going through the process. So picture this, you're at this situation where you're done, you're finally free from this person, you're divorced, that was your goal, and a couple years go by, but you're still having to deal with them. Maybe there's alimony payments, maybe they're late, or they've missed a few, maybe you're missing payments for children's reimbursement expenses, maybe they haven't followed what they were supposed to follow in the settlement agreement. You can probably feel at this point, enough is enough. Listen, if you are in that boat, if you have questions, what should I do? Make sure you talk with an attorney. The attorney's going to want to see the settlement agreement, the court order, and they should be able to tell you what avenues to go down.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a couple of concepts in these situations. I mean, first, you can't let somebody just get away with not doing important things. If your ex-husband was supposed to pay you alimony as part of your divorce settlement, make sure he's making the payments. If he's not, you got to hold him to it and go to court. There are things like that you can't just turn your back on. But then there's things that, these people will do to try to re-engage with you, to try to get you back on the, merry-go-round from hell that was the ups and downs of the marriage that you finally got out of. And sometimes the best decision is to not engage in that type of stuff.
Let sleeping dogs lie in certain circumstances.
And sometimes I put you in a situation where you have to choose between two outcomes, none of which are what you'd really like. What you'd really like is your husband to follow the darn settlement agreement that you took so hard to get, or the court order you might have had to get through a trial. And you'd like that, but the reality is your choices are sometimes to ignore the issue, accept the problem and just deal with it, or have to choose with re-engaging with your ex-husband to try to correct the thing. And when that's the case, you really have to determine whether the re-engagement is actually worth it. A lot of times it's not.
Hey, let's have a conversation about moving forward, about what to do and what not to do when you're dealing with a very bad person.
Yeah, getting out of a toxic marriage, there's just so many emotions that come through, and we find sometimes people get to the point that you might be at, and they're angry, they're mad, they're upset, or they're very hurt, and we want to make sure that you understand how to not go off track and how to stay on the right path as you go through this process, in a focused way. And as hard as this process can be, if you're working with a legal team that knows what they're doing, who's done it before, it doesn't have to be that hard for you. There's just a few things you really need to keep in mind, make sure you're doing and that you're not doing as you go through this process.
And really one of the reasons why a lot of people choose our law firm is because we inform the clients step by step along the way. We have a series of a program that we follow throughout the case pretty much every single time.
Yeah, and we help our clients understand, what's likely to happen, when is it likely to happen, so that they have the big picture of the full process, so that everything stays in perspective and they keep going down the road that they need to be going through to get to where they need to be in life.
We know that you're at wit's end. You just want to throw in the towel. You want to be done. You've already tried everything that you possibly can do, and you want to start right away.
And we want to help you get started. We want you to get going with this journey, but it's just really important that you do it the right way, because the best divorce for you is the one that's going to be over on fair terms as soon as possible. And we want to keep you from doing the things that take things off track, because that makes it take longer. It makes it possibly more expensive. And when this stuff continues to fester and linger as it happens, it causes more collateral damage. We want you to minimize that when you go through your divorce experience, and that's what we're going to get into here. So if your husband is controlling, if he's manipulative, oftentimes the financial aspects of your life is a complicated, messy web, maybe more aptly put as a pile of something. And if that's how you think that the finances might be, or if there's just a lot of money to deal with, you really need to get to the bottom of what you're going to have to deal with in the divorce and have a plan for dealing with it all, to untangling that web, to understanding everything so that you're getting what you're entitled to. And you need to do that before you get started.
And so, believe me, we're parents. Our children are some of the most important things in our life. If you're a parent, you do not want to go astray on your children. You have to be strong in negotiating with your spouse on what you want. You have to stand up for what you want within reason, of course. You have to know what the law is and what the bounds of the law are. So you need to have a lawyer that can really explain that to you.
If money is at stake at the divorce, that's one thing. But if your children are going to be growing up after a end of a toxic relationship, it's just critical that you don't mess things up as you go through the process.
So remember, this is your life. This is the most important thing. One of the most important things that's going to happen in your life. Right now, you're together with somebody, you're going to be split apart. What does that look like? You need to understand what that looks like and what that process is.
And if there's kids involved or money's important, it's really important that you get things right. We're going to help you understand the things that you need to be doing and the things that you need to avoid as you approach and begin the divorce process.